I'm Bud of Collectivist Media. In a moment, we'll be videoing a interview on Occupy Boston radio. The person is going to be interviewed is Daniel Damascus Kimmerly, who is a person advertising the reoccupation of Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street, which is to take place on Saturday, June 1st, 2013, at Wall Street and Broadway at the church on Broadway at Wall Street. As I say, in a moment, they are calling him now, and they're trying to make the communications for the interview. As I say, I'm Bud of Collectivist Media, and in a moment, Occupy Boston Radio is going to interview as I say, they're trying to make the communications with the person to be interviewed. Also, you can search Facebook.
We're back.
For ReOccupy Wall Street and see the website.
Anyway, this is OBR.FM. This is the Occupy Nation show every week from 7 o'clock until 10 o'clock on Thursdays. With me right now, I've got Daniel Damascus Kimmery. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Thank you for having me, Patrick.
Hey, no problem. I'm glad that we were able to connect earlier this week and set this up, because it's something's pretty important to me and probably, well, many thousands of people across the nation. I was just reading, before we get started into this, we were talking about reoccupying Wall Street, which Daniel started a page on Facebook, about a week or so ago, Dan?
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it was about 3.5 months ago. It's just now starting to gain traction, though, because I remember the original occupation of Trinity began in the summer, and it lasted until winter. And Goldman Sachs lasted for about a couple months. It lasted until winter as well. And, weather kills protest. I mean, I was reminded that firsthand at our Kansans Against Monsanto protest. They had 200 and some people say they were going, and since the weather is so bad, only 13 showed up. And we got rained out before we could even finish making our speeches.
No shit.
But this isn't going to be a one-day protest, though. That's the good thing about this event, is it's going to be a fateful protest. It's going to be a continuous occupation, and it's going to last until winter. Basically, it don't quit until, winter gets here, and, once people start freezing and going into hypothermia, then we'll, go indoors or something, and, I don't know, occupy online or, regroup, and, winter's kind of good, fortunately, because it gets us to get away from protesting, because sometimes when you're protesting too long continuously, you deal with so much stress, you start to lose your mind, and it's good to decompress, and also, just phone up on your knowledge and, remind yourself why you're there, because, it's like, we can't be expected to wake other people up unless we're awake ourselves, and we can't just, think we're enlightened. We have to continuously focus on self-improvement and learning as much as we possibly can about the issues, So when people ask us why we're sleeping in the streets, we actually know what the fuck we're talking about.
Right, no doubt. And that was always a big thing I remember from Dewey Square was that, some people would talk to the press and some people wouldn't. But what was interesting about it is that the folks from the mainstream media or mass media would always go after the people that they would view as being something embarrassing towards us. I mean, do you recall that happening at the different camps that you went to?
Yeah, I mean, they do that basically in every camp. What they'll do is they'll go around and interview everybody, and then they'll usually go with the stupidest person.
I know.
And even with some interviews I've done in the past that made it to television, they would try to edit it in such a way to where it looks like you're saying something you're not. Like, I did a 20-minute interview for Channel 7 News in Arkansas.
Right.
And, when I was with Occupy Waterlock, and I was wearing a Gadsden flag and a colonial hat to represent the Tea Party to show that we're made up of all different factions. Right. And my friend James had a Guy Fawkes mask on to represent Anonymous, and they both gave us an equal allotment of time, which was cool. But what you saw on television was you saw me say, at first I hated him, but then I wanted to feeling sorry for him. But what I said was at first I hated him, but then I wound up feeling sorry for him because I realized that the media has been feeding me lies, and I'm sitting here watching these peaceful protesters show up, protesting, corporate and banker corruption and control of our government and our lives.
Right.
And, I'm watching them show up peacefully to protest, and they're getting their faces bashed in and getting maced and stuff.
Right.
And, that's what I said, but they edited and spun it in a way to where it's like, first I hated him, then I just wound up feeling sorry for him. And even if, they get somebody that gives a good interview, you really got to be careful what you say and make sure that no matter how they edit it, that your message won't be misconstrued. So what I usually try to do when I'm dealing with, prostitute, corporate, whore media, what I do is I try to keep my message short and sweet.
Yeah.
That way, even if they chop it up, they won't be able to brutalize it too bad.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000% on that. I mean, in fact,
Another thing we need to do is we need to reach out to more friendly media outlets. We need to reach out to Russia Today and Adbusters, media outlets like that are more sympathetic to our cause.
Well, the AP people are pretty good too, I found, with regard to that. But yeah, definitely the local news channels were never really a fan. And you're right about keeping the answers short, simple, sweet. Keep it simple, stupid is what people always say. And a very wise guy told me yesterday, one of the Veterans for Peace, he told me what his answer was for that always. And it was just, what was he looking for? He was looking for equality and justice. 2 words. And they can't really mess with those 2 words. So
yeah, I know. It's like people are always bashing anarchy, and they're trying to make it out to be something it's not.
Right.
Trying to make it out to be terrorists, smashing windows and setting stuff on fire. When really all anarchy is it's about freedom and equality.
Well, right.
Because right now the country we live in, this isn't the democratic republic it makes itself out to be. It's a shadow government, and it's a plutocratic oligarchy, where the super rich have all the say, and the rest of us have no say in what happens. And we're rapidly becoming a first world banana republic.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're on our way to becoming a third world nation as well. If you look at things economically, I mean, essentially they're sucking all of the money out of this country, out of the people's hands at least. I mean, above and beyond the obvious difference in wages when you go from the late 60s until now, where the 1% income is increased by 300% and ours is increased by just 3%. It's crazy. And don't you agree with that? I mean, now you were talking to me last night about your thoughts with regard to the Fed.
Yeah, the Federal Reserve. It's basically a private central bank that was established by the Illuminati, a cabal of banksters, including the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. And before the Federal Reserve Act, which was slipped through Congress when they were out of session, before then, the United States Treasury Department issued our currency. Now we have a private central bank issuing our currency, and they issue our currency on debt. Every currency note they issue to our government is issued on debt. So we owe them a debt for every dollar they print for us. And this isn't just America, though. It's part of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, and the World Bank. Basically, this is happening all over the planet. And it's like one question I asked the other day was, if the whole world is in debt, then who are they in debt to? They're in debt to the bankers. And the Federal Reserve, what they do is they print money out of thin air to give it to their bankster buddies overseas to give like $400 billion to Deutsche Bank and, a few trillion to, the British Bank, and, it's ridiculous. They're just giving all this money to their buddies without any oversight. And now, like, it's not enough that they're printing money out of thin air just to give themselves no oversight. Now they're asking for taxpayer dollars for banker bailout. Right. And a lot of people think it ended with the original banker bailout, but now it's the QE4, it's quantitative easing 4, and that's basically the new policy is, every so often the government is going to have the Federal Reserve, or not the government's not going to do it, they have to have say, because the federal government isn't over the Federal Reserve, the Federal Reserve's over the federal government, and they're going to continuously print money to give to banksters, but they're not just going to do it that way, because if they did it just that way, then it would completely debase the value of the currency, which is what they want to happen in one way, but another way they're going to do it is through taxpayer dollars. They're taking it directly from taxpayer dollars through quantitative easing.
Right. Well, quantitative easing is God, it's hurting the rest of us. Listen, Daniel, I want to introduce you, a fellow that I was waiting to come in for this segment tonight. Josh is here in the studio with us right now, and I wanted to introduce you two before I let him go ahead and talk a little bit too. Dan and I have been talking about the reoccupation of Wall Street, essentially. You're going to set up. Where is it you guys are setting up at, Dan?
It's in front of Trinity Church. Trinity Church is a $2 billion real estate firm posing as a church so they don't have to pay taxes. Their rector, James Cooper, makes $1.6 million a year and lives in a $5.7 million townhouse that the church resides in, and they do absolutely nothing for the poor.
Now, wasn't this the same church that Occupy Wall Street was petitioning to allow them to I guess, have a safe spot in one of their buildings?
No, not at all. No, that's because those are media lies. We never asked them for permission to be there. Okay. We didn't have to. There's a law in New York called Metro versus Shaver. And basically what that law states is, according to the New York Supreme Court, we're allowed to protest anywhere we want, or just be a bum anywhere we want, and sleep anywhere we want, as long as it's a public sidewalk and we don't take up over half of the sidewalk going out.
Right.
And so, and that's one of the things I wanted to say about this is that this is not civil disobedience. I remember we had a conversation about my opinions on civil disobedience. I'm all for it, but this is going to be a safe, family-friendly environment, where people can feel free to bring their kids. It's not, and the thing is that the reason why this isn't civil disobedience is because we're not breaking the law. We have every right to be there.
Right.
We have a First Amendment right to peacefully assemble and protest, and that's what we're going to do.
Awesome. And now,
it's nice to meet Josh.
Oh, yeah. Can you? Okay, let me get his mic set up right here. All right. Try to turn the switch. Hello? There you are. Yeah, he's on now. His mic wasn't on at first. But so you guys, Daniel, you guys are starting up June 1st, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm showing up a day early to kind of help organize stuff. I'm spending a week with my kids. And then I'm going to spend a few days just, working out, painting, getting ready, and preparing myself mentally because I haven't lived in the streets since November 6th. I'm kind of spoiled from being indoors, but I'm sure I'll readjust to it. It'll be like riding a bike.
Yeah, no doubt. And I guess, when we were speaking last night, we were talking about some different things that that would be different this time around? I mean, do you want to, I guess, start off with those? And I think Josh had some ideas about that I was speaking with him out in Harvard Square yesterday afternoon, too. So I did a lot of talking about this stuff yesterday to a bunch of different people. But anyway, Dan, why don't you start off? What things would you like to be different this time around?
Well, one of the things I'd like to be different is to, sort of chill on the fuck the police rhetoric. Because, last time a lot of the cops were on our side. We did outreach with them, and a lot of them were actually sympathetic to our cause. Mm-hmm. And usually whenever they did get crazy with it, there's usually in response to us being crazy with them or us not working with them. Like when they need for us to get up for them to spray the sidewalk to clean it, which I want them to do because I don't want to wake up to rats, spiders, and bugs crawling on me.
Right.
Of course they're going to come in with their goon squad later and give us a hard time. So, I've noticed, with the different occupations I've been to, which I've been to 10, okay. All the way from San Francisco to Manhattan. I spent 9.5 months on the streets of Wall Street at Goldman Sachs and Trinity. Mm-hmm. What I've learned is that, if we work with them, generally they'll work with us. I mean, I know the NYPD has a bad reputation, but quite frankly, compared to a lot of the other occupiers I've been to, they're like the same. And, I know NYPD has done some really bad things that I feel like we need to be reaching out to them and saying, fuck the police. And I think one thing that needs to stop is the peacekeeping bullshit. The idea that, no snitching, even if somebody rapes somebody or kills somebody or pulls an off or something, we police our own, we handle shit ourselves, fuck the police.
Right.
I think that shit needs to stop. It creates a alpha male, macho, road warrior, it just creates a really bad, tough guy, Billy Badass, bully environment where people cease to protest and it turns into a big dick measuring contest of dudes trying to show out how hard they are.
I definitely feel that, definitely.
And this is a peaceful protest. A lot of people come into this, they get off on the adrenaline rush they have from violent confrontation. And, what I have to say to them is, if you want to be a revolutionary, go somewhere else. We're peaceful protesters here. We're not revolutionaries, we're protesters. We're just here to wake people up. If you want to be a revolutionary, pick up a gun and go join the Zapatistas or something. This is a peaceful protest, and we want this to be family-friendly. And one of the reasons why we lost so many people in Occupy is because the radicals ran out all the reasonable people, and, people stopped feeling safe. And then when that happened, we went from being a mass movement to being a fringe movement of extreme radicals. And we need to be a mass movement in order to be effective. And I still very strongly believe in Occupy. I think it's a beautiful message. And I wouldn't be a part of it. I wouldn't be organizing for it. And I wouldn't be willing to give at least 2 months of my life living on the streets again for it if I didn't believe in the Occupy movement and what it stands for. I just think that it's been corrupted somewhat by some outside negative influences that seek to co-opt it. And we just need to get back to our core principles, which is, in Citizens United, let's get the money out of politics, in the Federal Reserve, in the wars, legalize it, get back to our core message of, freedom and love and fighting against corporate greed over human need and corruption in our banking system and federal government.
Josh?
First of all, I agree completely with that we need to get the police at least somewhat on our side, and that any sort of violence is completely unacceptable. I think that policemen are they're just people trying to make their way in the world. Some of them may be control freaks, but a lot of them are just people who want to help out, keep the peace. There are certainly possibilities of outreach. I mean, I don't know how it was in New York, but in Boston, we even had a few at least reasonably friendly relationships with the police. And, it would be ideal if we could arrange a situation where we got together and had a few people from each side meet and lay out some ground rules before the thing happened. Like, no throwing stuff at the police, no...
breaking windows.
No breaking... Basically, the protesters keep civil. The police don't come in like thugs.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
I mean, they may overreact based upon bad past experiences with large groups of organized people who may cause trouble. I mean, protests, riots, you name it, that does not usually go down well for the police.
Mm-hmm.
They either don't react enough and something gets broken and they get blamed for it, or they react too badly and they cause some massive overreaction within their own ranks, and then they get blamed for beating people with sticks.
Right.
So I think that some level of communication is very important before this thing starts up again. Second, based upon what you were getting into with the focusing on this, with the focusing on the goals for the second occupation, I think that is absolutely vital. Because, I mean, personally, my major issue is money in politics, because I see that as the root of all evils.
Citizens United.
Actually, no, not Citizens United.
Really?
That was the last step in the process.
The last straw.
Dan, do you know anything about the history of money in politics in the United States, campaign finance?
Well, I know that, before Citizens United, the most you could donate to a campaign was $2,500. After Citizens United, the most you can donate is infinity. And since then, we have turned into, people say it's capitalism. This isn't capitalism. This is corporatism. They destroy all competition. They destroy small business. The big banks swallow the little banks and the credit unions. And it's basically the big guy crushing the little guy. And pretty soon, we're going to have, everywhere you go, there's not going to be any with small business. It's just going to be Walmart and KFC and McDonald's and other toxic GMO shit.
I agree with you there.
And that's another thing I forgot to mention. This was going to be a very big part of our message in ReOccupy Wall Street. And it's one of the things that kept us from killing each other. It's fuck Monsanto. I remember when we would get into a big argument or something, somebody out of nowhere would yell, fuck Monsanto! And we'd all go, fuck Monsanto! And it was weird, the same person you were just arguing with just yelled fuck Monsanto with you in unison. And it reminded you that even though you argue and disagree on a lot of shit, that you all, stand united on some very serious issues that affect all of our lives in a very catastrophic way.
Mm-hmm. I think what I was getting to before is it's not just Citizens United. Citizens United was the last step in a very, very bad process. All
businesses have been bought off from the beginning. It's just a lot worse now. I mean, all lobbyists is, that's just a pretty word for a briber.
That's true.
Yeah.
But there was a case called Buckley v. Vallejo in the mid to late 19th or 20th century, and that's the case that decided that money equals speech. That's the key misassumption in this. If money equals speech, people with more money have more speech. Citizens United was the decision which allowed corporations to get in on the game. Before that, it was just a bunch of rich, independent people buying politicians. And corporations were stuck doing the revolving door policy. That is another extremely pervasive problem. I mean, we have generals working for defense contractors and suggesting all sorts of actions in favor of their current employers' interests. We have regulators going to work for the very people they want regulated and then coming back into the government. It's not even bribery anymore. It's legalized bribery. The criminals have actually gone into the system and they've made the laws compliant with what they want to do.
Right. Well, half of the criminals work for the administration. I mean, look at the revolving door between Goldman Sachs and any administration, and whether it be the Bush administration, the Obama administration, even the Clinton administration.
Oh, yeah, the Clintons, they're good on a lot of things, but in terms of banking regulations and banking policy, they're absolutely abysmal.
Glass-Steagall.
That's crazy. I'm in Hot Springs right now, living in my kids. I'm from Hot Springs, too.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah, we know all about Bill Clinton in Arkansas. We call him Slick Willie down here.
Yeah, I've heard that one someplace. But yeah, I mean, in going back to,
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
he does
I
that
did
pretty
not
good.
have sexual relations with that.
It's the accent. I think it's the accent. You do that very well, Daniel.
Okay.
I think it's the accent. But
I did not have sex with that. I did not have sexual relations with people.
yeah, but regardless, yeah, we're still dealing. I mean, 2 years later, we're still dealing with the same shit, and it's gotten worse. I mean, foreclosures haven't slowed down at all, and that's something that I think Occupy has done all along. It's been the foreclosure defense, and it's been what is it called? The thing with the debt,
a rolling jubilee.
Rolling Jubilee has been a very debt strike. Yeah, that's been a very good.
There's also a strike debt in South area of Quebec. I was at the South area of Quebec March in San Francisco. It's a really good protest. We took to the streets and blocked traffic for a few miles.
Right. Now, you had some thoughts last night, I believe, about Occupy Sandy. That it was a positive thing in some ways, but it was maybe a slightly negative thing because it took away from what we were doing. You know, I think it's a positive thing.
I'm an original Occupy Sandy occupier. I was at Goldman Sachs and occupied when Hurricane Sandy hit.
Oh no shit.
And it was crazy. The scaffolding was getting ripped off over our heads and was flying around like throwing stars. And there were signs getting ripped out of the ground and flying around the same way.
Right.
And we were like, holy shit, somebody's going to get killed. We may think we're being cool, we're being brave right now.
Right.
But, you know, it's not going to be cool if somebody gets killed or seriously injured. So we back up, and we wound up moving out for a few hours and going back.
Right.
But, no, I never did participate in the volunteer work. I felt somebody had to stay behind at Goldman Sachs because we want so many people to occupy Sandy. And Occupy Sandy was completely decimated by it. I mean, there was like pretty much nobody left in Trinity after that. Right. And I felt like it did a lot of great things for the movement. I felt like, you know, it certainly improved our public image, made us more like, you know, sort of like Robin Hood type people, like, you know, we may be giving rich people a hard time, but at least we're not hypocrites, or at least looking out for people instead of, you know, suffer the devastation and it's suffering with poverty and hardship. And, you know, so I mean, I think it definitely improved our public image, and it helped get a lot of people on our side that probably ordinarily wouldn't be. But I feel like it also practically killed our protest. Like, and I think at the end of the day, Occupy, and I hope Occupy Sandy endures until the problem's solved there. But at the end of the day, this is Occupy Wall Street. I mean, after the Occupy Everything Amendment, basically, you know, if you're pissed off at something, just slap Occupy's name on it. Occupy Monsanto, Occupy Women's Rights, Occupy Spectra, whatever the fuck. Right. You know? But
that's the strength of the movement.
I just feel like we need to focus more on protesting than charity work. And I know a lot of people are going to hate me for that, but this is my analogy. Occupy Sandy, what they were doing is going around treating burn victims. What I want to do is slay the dragon.
That makes sense.
You see, I agree with you. I agree that we can't focus all on humanitarian issues, but if we can make a difference, and it's going to help. Look, you even say it. It improved the public image. I mean, if we continue doing it,
I mean, and we got national coverage. And I mean, I'm watching it here in Arkansas. I'm watching my friend from Occupy Wall Street on television with Occupy Sandy doing Sandy relief, and I'm seeing them feeding FEMA workers. And we already know what FEMA's really about, the FEMA camps and everything. And these same guys that are probably putting us in camps later, we're feeding because they can't get their shit together to even take care of their own employees, and we're the ones feeding them. So it didn't just, you know, make us look like, you know, improve our public image, but I mean, as far as being the good guys, but it also made us look like we were more efficient than them. Like we were better at taking what resources we had and helping people with it. Because I think the budget was only like $1 million something. And I mean, they did so much more with the little bit of money they had than what FEMA did with all their billions. I mean, I really think that the government is like the mafia, and all this money that's supposed to go to these social programs is really just going into people's pockets.
Right.
You see, the thing is, think of it as a PR investment. I mean, you can have the perfect, pure activism movement, but if you can't get the average person to, see you either as a positive force or someone who looks after them, you're not going to get anywhere. I mean, that's how you can mix if you create a proper mix of, say, some humanitarian issues, feed the poor. Give blankets out to the homeless. Whenever there's a storm, act as Hurricane Sandy, but don't let it burn you out. Don't let it become the new focus of the movement. Do it.
But I will say this. It worked great for the Black Panthers. With their struggle in the 70s. In Oakland. When they were giving free meals to kids in impoverished
books.
cities.
Yeah.
Or in impoverished areas, because, the public schools back then didn't feed kids.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. I've done a lot of reading in this last year about the Black Panthers and a lot of the positive things that they did in the communities that most folks don't even know about. And helping the kids and helping to feed and clothe the poor was a huge thing that they did do. Now, in moving along,
I was in Occupy Oakland, and I got to say the Black Panthers still have a very strong presence there. And one of the largest factions there is the Black Riders Liberation Party. I got to spend a lot of time with them when I was occupying there. I mean, they were a little reluctant to talk to me at first, but once they opened up to me, they turned out to be some really good people.
Right. I believe that people, no matter what color skin they have, no matter what religion they are, it doesn't matter, gender, anything. People are all generally good inside. They just have different things that set them off in different directions. But in moving along, game plan to ReOccupy. Now, I've been looking at the group on Facebook, and people can find that pretty easily. I think all they have to do is type in ReOccupy Wall Street, correct?
Let me go on my computer real quick.
Okay, I think that's what it's just ReOccupy Wall Street.
Hyphen occupy, and then Wall Street, 2 words.
Okay, it's 2 words, right?
And it's go to the one that has the blue screen with the Guy Fawkes image on it that says anonymous, etc. That's the one to go to, because there's different there's a bunch of different ReOccupy pages. There's like one for Boston and New Hampshire, and then there's some ReOccupy Wall Street ones that are like not event pages, but group pages. They're like smaller and private. But the main page, ReOccupy Wall Street, has 665 going and 387 maybes. And I just got off the phone with Sean McDown. They just had their second GA.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about.
The second one had 25 people.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to him after I talked to you yesterday. And anyways, they're going to put an ad in the paper, and he's talking to the people that moderate the official Occupy Wall Street website, and they're going to endorse this event page on there. So this should go pretty fast, but I'm not too worried about it, getting too big too quick, because, this event's going to last a while, and I think it's really going to grow exponentially once we actually start physically occupying and are posting pictures of it, and people see that we actually have a presence there. I think that's when people are going to start flooding it.
I think the 2 most important things you need to do are, 1, to make the point very clear that this is not going to be a continuation of just occupying. There has to be an occupation with a purpose. Like, look at Occupy Monsanto or Occupy the NRA. They have different marches, they have different goals, they have a very clear mission statement. It can be broad, it can be get money out of politics, this is how we want to do it, do some new banking regulations like Glass-Steagall to prevent banks from just gambling with our money, environmental stuff, but it has to be relatively clear. And the second part is to avoid movement stagnation. So keep people moving, keep there being marches, activities, different movements. People
that weren't interference and, deflect attention from real issues of that project. Yeah, I understand.
It's not
You know,
even that.
but-
It's ambiguity which will kill the movement because
Well, what I think is it's, you know, it's like Henry David Thoreau said, for every 1,000 men chopping at the branch of injustice, there's only one chopping at the root. I think Occupy's problem last time is we were chopping at 1,000 branches. And we didn't have enough people chopping at the root. There wasn't enough people focusing on the banking system or the corporations or the influence those two groups have over our government, and how our government is completely crooked and it doesn't represent us anymore. I think whether you're a liberal or a conservative, that's something we can all agree on.
Right.
And everything else to me is a side issue. Like whether or not guns should be legal or illegal, that's irrelevant. I mean, there's so many side issues that even though they're important issues to me, they're completely irrelevant. But to me, it's like, in the face of what's going on now in the financial system, you know, worrying about this other crap is like worrying about a skunk in your yard when there's a giant Kodiak bear behind you about to rip your head off. You know, so I think with our main focus needs to be, since it's Occupy Wall Street, our main focus needs to be Occupy Wall Street. But please, by all means, you know, protest whatever you want. You know, if you want to hold up a sign that says, one pissed off feminist and have a bunch of feminist gear on, you know, more power to you, because, you know, we have to have this be a forum for free speech and allow everyone's voice to be heard, even if we don't agree with it. You know, but I don't know. I mean, we have to exercise some discretion with being, you know, that generous with I don't know. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm restricting free speech, but shit, how do we handle a situation if Westboro Church wants to join Occupy and we got them standing right next to us? I heard you earlier on the show talking about Westboro. But yeah, what if they want to come up there and protest our movement? And, you know, I mean, how do we deal with that situation? I mean, I think these are
politely ask to borrow the police's LAR, perhaps.
There you go. There you go.
You know, we're going to deal with difficulties like that. We're going to have people we're going to have Republicans, we're going to have all kinds of weirdos showing up trying to, you know, disrupt our movement and be like a counter-protest to a protest. And we need to be prepared for that. And I think we need to, certainly, I mean, this may not be the forum for it, but I think at some point in the near future, certainly our GAs, there needs to be a discussion about how do we deal with, you know, outside agencies coming in to infiltrate and disrupt our movement.
I mean, there are certain issues which you can actually get all sides on, like campaign finance reform, one perfect example because it's a really big issue. Everyone has an argument for it. I mean, have you ever heard of a group called Wolfpack?
No.
Wolf-Pack. It's a political action committee trying to get money out of politics, constitutional amendment style. But basically,
well, I'll look it up later.
Right? Mm-hmm. Is it Russ Feingold?
No, it's the one with Jen Kuger, the guy from.
Okay, yeah, Jen Kuger. You know Jen Kuger.
Yeah, Young Turks.
Yeah. Basically, I wrote an article for their blog. It was basically stating the different cases, and you can find so many different ways to argue for campaign finance reform, even if the person that you're talking to is a conservative. Say you don't want multinational interests to control American politics. It's a matter of sovereignty.
Absolutely. I figured out how to do it. It's Monsanto. Dude, here in Arkansas, we are very divided over issues like women's reproductive rights. But the same people that are giving me hell over the war on women protests we were doing at the state capitol are the same people that are right on board with you know, fuck Monsanto, let's get them the hell out of Arkansas.
I mean, you don't need to say, okay, these people are going to come in and disrupt us. You say, these people are going to come in, they're going to see, oh, wait a minute, these guys want to prevent our politicians from being corrupt.
Yeah.
That might actually work out for us in the future because we don't want our environment poisoned. We don't want another 2008 economic crash. We don't want another example where we get lied into war because defense contractors are going to make more money. Oh, wow. I'm going to become one of them now.
You know, my first...
That's so true, Patrick. I'm glad that you mentioned that, and that actually is the solution to our problem as far as people disrupting our movement, is showing them how they do have an invested interest in this. Because it's like the old thing goes, I destroy my enemies when I make them my friends.
Right.
And, that's not important. We do outreach with the police, and not just with the police, but also just with other people that would ordinarily give us a hard time when they're walking by, like down the beach.
That have different viewpoints, and that's one of the things that when I first went to Occupy, first couple days, what I found there was something that was astounding to me. Now, before then, I was so polarized. I'm a very, very, very far left person politically, but I was so polarized that I wouldn't talk to a conservative, a moderate, any of the people on the far right. There's no way in God's green earth. It was just a stupid argument that I didn't want to have. And so when I got down to Occupy Boston, I found that there were people there that were conservatives, and I could actually agree with some things about when it came down to the Fed, when it came down to the Glass-Steagall, and actually, hashing out some of those things. We had some very productive conversations, and we found out that a lot of conservative folks, Republican people on the street, are actually a little bit more middle ground than those on Fox News or what you might see on television. And frankly, to be honest with you, I'm going to try to keep this part of it brief as hell, but the moderates are not being represented by this particular version of the Republicans right now. They've been left behind because
of citizens' polarized by extremists.
Well, exactly, but because of the polarization of Citizens United between the very rich and the rest of us, what's happened is that those people have been left in the cold, in the closet, so to speak, and now, who they got looking out for them? Nobody, and these are just people, to be honest with you, who wanted a little morals in our government, because Republicans used to always say family values, family values, family values. Now it's just job creators, job creators, job creators. And so those folks have been left behind. So I think right now is an opportunity, to be honest with you, if we're able to get this thing going.
Hey, you listen to me, Patrick.
Okay.
You listen to me right now, okay? They are job creators. Do you have any idea what would happen to the golden yacht and down in the airplane industry if we fucking made them pay more in taxes?
Oh, God.
Do you have any idea how many jobs would be lost?
Oh, I know.
Probably thousands of people that probably shouldn't have a job in the first place.
Well, you hear about these huge profits. I mean, it goes to what I was saying earlier today, which is that $22 billion just got cut from the food stamp budget. $11 million got put into that budget to bail out the banks, and we're talking about corporate leaders and their bonuses. It makes me sick. I mean, it all comes back down to, I guess it's still coming down to campaign finance.
Money and politics. I mean, that's, I don't know, I'm biased on this issue, but I see that as the core issue. Because right now, as you were saying, Patrick, it's the millionaires against everyone else.
Yeah.
Or even the billionaires against everyone else. If you can take away money as the incentive, things will rebalance, because the American people have not shifted. We're still a center-left country, like slightly to the left of pure centrism.
Mm-hmm.
And currently our politics range from the center-right Democrats to the psychotic Republicans. I mean, there's no real nice way to say it. They're just absolutely insane. The second we take money out of politics, things start snapping back to normal, and suddenly, oh, wait a minute, we might actually have an environmental policy that makes sense, because these polluters aren't able to buy their way into the good graces of the politicians.
Right.
And oh, look at that, suddenly the banks aren't able to go crash the world economy and get away scot-free, because, they can't contribute to the people who are supposed to regulate them. I mean, we get rid of the bad motivation that money brings into the political process, and we can solve many of these problems just organically. They will self-correct, because they're not caused by some mistake, and they're not caused by some quirk in the American people's knowledge. They're caused by the American people not being able to control our representatives because they are bought. You take away the ability of these people to buy them, and these politicians are stuck holding the bag. They've supported a bunch of...
Goodbye, Monsanto.
What? What's that?
I said goodbye, Monsanto.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're right. Until we get money out of politics, none of this other stuff we're talking about even matters.
Well, you can't get anything done.
Because we're not going to get any real change done on a broad level in this country. The only way we'll be able to effectuate real change till money is out of politics is maybe on a local level if you're in a really cool place. But beyond that, or when you're talking on a federal level, we're not going to be able to get anything we want until we get the money out of politics.
There was a very interesting and very, very worrying study. I believe it was out of Yale, like 2005. I can look it up, though. It was a public preference survey that looked at a comparison between the eventual policy outcomes when the politicians made laws and the demographic-based opinions of different segments of the American population. So basically, the income quartiles, race, gender, what have you, and their various opinions on an issue, and then whatever the issue's actual resolution was. And they found out that the top quartile of the American population had more political influence, i.e. they actually got what they wanted more than the bottom three quartiles. Which basically means the top 25% of people in the country, economically, in terms of wealth, have more control over the eventual results of our policy discussions than 75% of the country. It's incredibly worrying, and it basically, it supports, unfortunately, the rich people have taken over. And this was before Citizens United, mind you.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so much worse than that now. It's not the top 25% or 75%.
It's the top
0.00001% versus the rest of the world.
Yeah. I mean,
well, it's a top. What is the top 25% of the 1% that has more money than the rest of us? It adds up to about 400 people that have the equivalent of what the rest of us have.
It depends on whether you want to do it family-wise or individual-wise, because some of these families are just really like the Waltons. You count them as a family,
right?
And they're going to be much, much larger than they actually are.
That's true. Well, we're coming down. We got about 10 minutes left in this show. What I want to talk about for a couple minutes before we finish up here is a game plan. A game plan for the next couple of weeks, or let's say a game plan until June 1st. What's the game plan, Daniel?
Well, I don't want to reveal too much, in the way of tactics, in a public forum like this. But the main game plan is just show up. Okay, don't worry about having a place to sleep. It's summertime in New York. You don't have to worry about freezing. The homeless hotel always has vacancies.
Right.
Just show up. We're all going to stick together. We're going to look out for each other. We're going to protest together. It should be a great time. But the main thing people have to do, we're going to have a very large presence from people that are local to New York.
Right.
A lot of the people that have quit maybe are actually going. But the thing is I really want to reach out to people from outside of New York. People that have been to other occupations, their occupations got shut down or whatever, if they want to keep occupying, come out here, join us, we'd be glad to have you.
Or do it in your city.
The main thing is just getting numbers, having people show up, and once we get the people there, it's all going to work itself out organically.
Well, right, because the people are going to do what the people are going to do. So we're talking about, people can show up for the daytime if they've got, people like their own bed sometimes if they're close by, or in whatever city they might be in. And it's going to be in New York right now. I guess I understand it. It's going to be a sleepful protest, which means that people are going to be on the sidewalks kind of hanging out. That's the way it's going to work out?
Yeah, we're going to have signs. Holding up protest signs, talking about, different stuff that, different reasons why we're there. We're going to be handing out flyers, handing out leaflets, basically just sharing information with people, trying to wake people up to the issues, because as surprising as this is, a lot of people still don't even know what's going on in the country. I mean, a lot of them realize something's messed up, but they don't realize exactly what's messed up. And the things like making things complicated, so that people are too busy It's not the people that are dumb or anything like that. It's just that they're too busy with their own lives. They're too busy with their jobs and raising their kids and trying to make their life work. They don't got the time to learn about the issues, let alone come out and protest. And I commend anyone that comes out to even donate a few minutes of their time to help us out in any way they can, even if it's just, even
bring water, bring supplies. You know?
Well, you know what? That's great if people do. Usually, people are going to do that anyways.
Right.
As long as we put our best face forward and we keep the drugs and the alcohol outside of the protest,
right,
and keep all the violence and aggression and craziness to a minimum, I think usually the more peaceful we are, the more intelligent we are, the better our messages, the more donations we get, and the happier everybody is. It's weird how cycles work. Sometimes people get on a vicious cycle and things just keep getting worse and worse on. And sometimes, people are, in a positive cycle where things just keep getting better and better exponentially. And I want to start this movement off with some really great positive energy, have everybody put the personal grievances aside, and remember why we're all here, and we're all united, for the same, at least for the same core reasons, even if we disagree on everything else. And just try and have a really positive environment. Try to be patient with people that, say stupid stuff when they walk by, like, get a job,
take a shower.
Try to defeat your adversaries with humor. Don't do it with force. And I think you'll do this myself. Sometimes you're just fed up, you're worn out, you've had millions of people walk by you in the last few days, and a lot of people send me and stuff to you, and sometimes you're just tired of people talking shit.
Right.
But, it's always just trying to come up with some clever comeback.
Right.
Like somebody says, give me a job, say, sorry, I'm too busy with this occupation, or I got 99 problems and the job ain't one, or, But, just try to defeat them with humor. Try to outwit them. Try to make them feel stupid. I'd be like, no, thanks, late slave. You look like you're miserable as fuck. I may be homeless, but at least I'm happy, motherfucker.
Right. I think the key is to kill that with positivity. I mean, the person who's going to be negative driving, I remember so many people driving by yelling something stupid out the window and then speeding off. And my only thought during that was that, is this guy going home to beat his family up or something?
They're trolls.
Yeah.
They just...
Don't feed them.
No, don't. Hey, it works on the internet. It can work in real life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
One thing I would suggest, if this actually, if everything goes right and you get a bunch of people, get press representatives to talk to official interviewers, because you're going to have people who come in and they try to find the most crazy, ignorant person there, and there will be a few.
And they'll call him the leader of Occupy Wall Street. They'll be like, so you're the leader?
And they'll interview them on camera.
Got any crack?
And everyone's going to look kind of clownish by comparison, or by association. Just say, okay, these people are not actual leaders. They don't have any authority. They just have a grasp of the issues to the point where they can very effectively convey the goals and ideals of the movement to the press. And say, okay, these are a few people who you can talk to. This guy, this guy, this guy, this guy.
That to me, that's a little too elitist. To say this, and also at the same time, if they're out to get you, if you point those out down as the guys to talk to, they're going to be like, okay, well, I'm going to avoid these guys. They're going to make me look stupid. They actually know what they're talking about. I'm going to go talk to this guy who told me not to talk to. So, I think the main thing we got to do to curb that is just make sure people all have a basic understanding of the issues and have people say the three core things. Have them say, get the money out of politics, end the wars, and restore our liberties in this fucking police state. Stop bailing out Wall Street and get Main Street to bail out.
I'm Bud of Collectivist Media. So that's an interview of the people who intend to occupy Wall Street at Broadway and Wall Street, which is in front of Trinity Church. That's going to start June the 1st, 2013. It's a Saturday. And it's supposed to start early in the morning. I also wanted to mention that Occupy Cooper Union by the students, they have been occupying this is the beginning of the third week that they've been occupying the president's office of Cooper Union. The students have. They're protesting the desire of them to implement tuition fees beginning in 2014. And they want to continue the 150-year free school that they've had. So that, as I said, I just wanted to mention that they have been occupying Cooper Union in New York City. So I'm going to end this broadcast at the moment. I'm Bud, Collectivist Media.